this for later. Thank you. And okay, so I thought let's get started. So I am going to be attending FNCE, the Food Nutrition Conference and Expo with the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. We are doing a few things together, myself, NutritionJobs, together with Dietitian Connection. We have 2 events on Sunday, and then I have a solo event with just myself, NutritionJobs, on Monday. I'll show you where you can find all that information. There's some great events for students and talking a lot about resumes, resume refreshes, where to put different elements of your work experience and your education on your resume. So there's some really good information for you that hopefully you'll be able to take advantage of if you are an attendee. I forgot to set up a poll to see who is going to FNCE. So if you want to put that in the chat, if you are attending FNCE, I would love to hear that as well. So I think, networking is always something that's top of mind for me because I don't like it, right? It's not my favorite thing to do, but I always say this, that every time I push myself to get out there to network, to have goals about networking, I'm always super happy. I always come out with some pearls of people, pearls of information, pearls of ideas. There's always something that comes out of a conference. And that I think is the benefit of networking, whether you want to do it or not, there's always something. There's a way you can be of service, and there's a way that you can learn about how other people's services could help you, or how you can benefit each other and collaborate together with either other dietitians or dietitians to be. So there's lots of opportunities when you network. I have this post I put out, was it yesterday, on Instagram? Do follow me over on Instagram at NutritionJobs. I had a post about networking and really collaborating and networking, just meaning that you don't need to work alone. You don't need to be alone as a dietitian working. I know I'm a solopreneur, so I'm always thinking about just like how I can handle everything. But the truth is, it's really empowering, and it really creates a lot of creative energy when I'm working with other people, when I'm talking with other people. It doesn't even have to be like a specific agenda item that I have to discuss with somebody. But if I'm just in the same room as somebody, whether that room is on Instagram or whether that room is in person, it is always so fun and beneficial. And so I highly recommend it. I am going to go through a couple things that I want to chat with you about, specifically virtual interviewing, virtual networking, because it's a little bit different than in person. You have to be a little more structured about how you go about it. And I think having some goals is super helpful too. And so let me, this was the one I was going to tell you about. So let me just open up another screen over here so I can have everything up there. We don't need to work in isolation. So that's always kind of a nice thing to know, that we are together as a group. This is where I will be at FNCE. You can see the areas. I have a post again also on LinkedIn on NutritionJobs, and then also over on Instagram. So you can see that as well. You can check that out. Then on Monday, I will be with the nutrition educators for the public dietetic practice group on Monday afternoon, and talking about a lot of really great things about our career. And there's lots of ways to network in that arena as well too. But I'm going to talk about some specific things. So FNCE does set up events and ice break rooms and social events where we can network together. They do set these things up for us. So definitely take advantage of those. There's a lot of them out there. And if you belong to a dietetic practice group, you could also connect with people there on the platform at the time of FNCE when people are in there. The other thing you can do is engage on, for example, Facebook groups, and check in with some of the groups that you belong to there, and just ask in if anyone is attending FNCE. Let people know that you're going to be there, or let people know that you're in there right now. Is anyone else in there? What does anybody else think about this talk? Some of the bigger groups like the Unconventional RD, that's a great one. There's several dietitian practice areas that you can focus in on Facebook, and then you could have these conversations with other people. But just letting people know that you're attending FNCE. Of course, you can do that on LinkedIn as well. Just letting people know that you're doing that, and it's a great way to sort of start the conversation in that direction. I have a little checklist for us of things to keep in mind when we are virtually networking. So I think the biggest thing for me is not to go into a conference wanting to get something out of it without a concrete idea, without a concrete list of goals, objectives, ideas. How do I want to land at the end of this conference? Do I just want to listen in as a bystander? Okay, truth be told, yes, I do. But I think that's not going to really help my business. That doesn't really help the fact that I paid money to attend the conference, that I'm taking time away from my business to attend the conference. I need to get in there and get interactive, and I need to engage. And so I think having some goals is really, really helpful. I like the idea of telling myself how many people I want to connect with. Some people, this comes super easy. It's very natural for them to do without setting up a goal. So that's fine for those people. But I think the majority of us like to have something a little more concrete. So on this checklist, you can download this checklist. I think the URL is not done populating. I made a specific one for it. If you don't see it, it's nutritionjobs.com/networking-checklist. If that's not live, it should be live within a day. So check again if you haven't seen that. I can send out a note to you guys if you want to have me do that as well. So just goals to who you want to connect with. I want to make sure I connect with 5 people, and I can put those names down ahead of time, or I can learn that as I go. As I'm going through the conference, maybe it's a particular speaker that I want to talk to. Maybe it's a person who coordinated one of the events. There's a few people in there that I think I want to connect with. I have some ideas about how I can benefit their work and how they can help serve my community on Nutrition Jobs with a blog post, a video interview, tips and tricks, whatever it is to help us better ourselves in the job application process, in the career path process as well. So I'm going to make a list of about 4 or 5 names, people that I want to connect with. And like I said, I'm going to write down one that I know for sure, and then I'm going to add them as I go. So that's one. The other thing is I want to make sure that I have some ideas about who I want to collaborate with. So this is sort of along the same lines, not exactly the same necessarily, but I have some ideas. There is a media dietitian I want to connect with, and I have some ideas about how she can teach all of us on Nutrition Jobs how to boost our confidence. I think that is such a huge area that we can all improve on. And I would love to be able to have her come speak to all of us and talk about just some simple tricks, because you get in front of a light and then all of a sudden, you hear like a lot of white noise in your head, and there's got to be a way to turn that off. That goes for job interviewing, for media interviews. There's just a lot of ways. And so I'm going to collaborate with that dietitian who is a media dietitian, who works in the media a lot, who does a lot of media interviews. I think that can translate well to us, whether it's job interviewing or pitching somebody for a collaboration. Having that confidence inside your head and not ruminating on ideas about how we're not worthy, or how we are, this is a silly topic, or I can't do this, somebody else should be doing this. So how can we boost our confidence? So that's who I want to collaborate with, that person. And then I'll probably come up with a couple more along the way, probably not too many. I don't want it to be overwhelming. You can see on the checklist, I only put a couple lines for people. I mean, you don't want to have like 20 people that you want to collaborate with, maybe 20 people you want to connect with and make sure you say hi. That's one thing, but to actually do some work and do some follow-up, I want to make it manageable. I want to make it be realistic as well. The other thing I put on this list is, who do I want to invite and connect with on LinkedIn? I want to be able to, and that can come later. I don't necessarily need to do that now, but I want to make sure that I connect with them on LinkedIn, that I send them a connection request, that I have a little note to talk to them. I just want to make sure that I definitely engage on LinkedIn. And so I just want to make a note of that. I will print out my own checklist, and I will have notes in there for myself. Then the other thing I want to do is make sure I engage in very specific ways. And I will go through that together right now as well. But there are specific ways that I want to be able to engage. I want to make sure that I step up and make some notes in the chat. I want to be sure that I step up and make some notes in the Q&A. Relevant questions, not just like throwing stuff out there so that my name gets seen. I do want my name to be seen. I think I'm going to sign up my Zoom as Stacy at Nutrition Jobs, or probably that's how I'll do it. I might just do Stacy Dynemke, the full name. You can decide how you want to do that. Maybe it's you definitely want to include your business name in there, but maybe you also want to just include your name so they can find your profile on LinkedIn. You can decide how you want to do that. But I want to make sure that I give some relevant engagement on the platform, on whatever. I think they're not using Hoova, they're using something else that they used last year for Fancy. And then I want to make sure that I attend at least one social event. I'm already signed up for one. So, okay, I did that one. So there's other ones out there too. I just want to make sure that I don't just sign off. Again, I want to make really good use of my time. I don't want to just squirrel away my time watching other people engage. So, and that goes for in person as well. It's easy to people watch at a conference, but you got to get in there. Oh, my favorite thing, I'll talk about this a little bit later, but remind me, saying thanks to a speaker. We'll go over that too. Okay. So these are, let me just see. Oh, you know what? One thing I want to mention before we get into more of those specifics is, you're going to be connecting with people on LinkedIn. I want to make sure that your LinkedIn profile looks really polished. It is an all-star LinkedIn profile. That's the nomenclature that LinkedIn uses, making sure that you've completed all of the elements of your profile so that it stands out and stands up in the search results. And so I actually have a LinkedIn profile checklist that you can download on my website on NutritionJobs. I'm going to show you where you can find that on the mobile device. On a desktop, it's just right there on the top right-hand side. You'll see the article post for it. Do make sure you check that out. So when you're connecting with people, you want to make sure that they can identify you with a nice profile photo. Maybe the banner image behind you, that hero image behind you, is complementing what service you're able to provide, that it's complementing that's not interfering with your profile photo as well, that it's not a blank generic one, that it's very specific to what you do. So there's lots of elements that you can check off there. Make sure that you are having a beautiful, gorgeous, polished LinkedIn profile as you're chatting with people. And this could be something you can do on the side or at the same time. You can do as much or as little as you want to, but just make sure that it looks polished. Okay. So I put this in here. This is something I put on Instagram, and I thought this sort of like spells out what I really want to make sure I get across to you. And that is, I like to read people's comments in the comment section of a presentation. And I also like to engage maybe just once, maybe twice. It sort of depends. When I do that, it gets my name out there. And that is a great way to, it's happened a lot to me, where I can put something in the chat, or I can put something in, whether it's a formal or informal presentation, and then someone will direct message me through that, where you can do that on Zoom, where you can say you want to talk to just the host, or you want to talk to everybody. So putting it in there and then having some side conversations. So as you know, I like to put that down as a goal. That's important too. Again, asking a question in the Q&A, you can start thinking about what your questions might be ahead of time, and then put that into the Q&A. And then not everyone sees those questions, but if you get up there and get your question in there as soon as you can, hopefully that question will get asked, and they might even reference your name, and they might even reference your business. So that would be a plus, right? If you're trying to work with other dietitians, if you've got a B2B kind of company like I do, or like Yvette does, there are ways that you can get your name and your company name out there as well. But also, just so you may have a real question, speakers love it when you have a question. It makes them feel like you're engaged. It makes them feel like the topic is interesting to them. So it's a great way to show, sort of like, we clap for people, but by putting a question in there, it can really help the speaker feel like, okay, this was a good topic. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that. You can also just put in the chat, thanks for the presentation. This was really great. I liked it when you said this. Or there's some way to compliment them without bringing attention back to yourself. I always like to say, how can you be of service? How can you present to other people ways that can boost their career path, can boost their business? It will always come back around to you. So don't worry about that part just yet. But if there's a way you can do that by connecting with people, both in the Q&A and the chat, definitely try to make that happen. All right. Sometimes the virtual platform, whether it's a dietetic association meeting that's a local one, or your state one, the national one's a little bit different, but sometimes they have icebreaker events. So definitely engage with that. You can ask a poll question. You can engage with somebody else's icebreaker. Again, just a way to get in there and get active and engaged. It can sometimes, it can actually break the ice for yourself. If you're just sitting in your chair quietly, your family's off in one area and you're just watching and you're kind of quiet. And if you actually get engaged, it can help, create this momentum of getting out there and wanting to virtually connect with people. So the other one is once you have attended an event, let's say you attended an event and you recognize somebody was in there, you can then on the side either chat with them within the platform. If you have their phone number, you can text with them and say, that's one of my favorite things to do is actually when I'm on a Zoom call. I love to text people and like have a live conversation. I like, oh my gosh, that's an interesting point. Or, oh my gosh, I never thought about that. What do you think about that? It's just a way to engage with people a little bit more. You can do this, like I said, by texting within the platform. You can also do it over on LinkedIn. You can go in there if you're already a connection with somebody. You can email them and say, "Oh, I just saw you over at that talk on metabolic function. What do you think about that? Or what do you think about stool testing? And what kind of products do you use right now? Learning a little bit more about somebody and engaging with somebody and with their business. That's a great way to get out there." The other thing that I think is really, really important is, and why I'm doing this on LinkedIn, is I have done this so many times on podcasts, presentations, lots of different events. When I have heard a talk, and especially if they invite me at the end of the talk to connect with them, I will go over to LinkedIn and see if I'm already connected with them. If I am already connected with that person, I will send them a message saying, "Thank you so much for the presentation today. That was just amazing." Or I learned the X, Y, and Z. I have had that experience, and this is my take on it as well. There's a lot of different ways you can engage. I think just giving some positive reinforcement to a speaker is always so helpful. It is always so welcome. You could even give them a recommendation on their LinkedIn profile. If you are already a connection, you can give them a recommendation. If they are a speaker, a virtual speaker, if they're talking about a topic that they are an expertise at, media dietitian, recipe development, pediatric dietetics, whatever it might be, and they have spoken about that, you can send them a recommendation related to their knowledge base, related to their ability to present on that topic. There's so many different ways that you can connect with them and share how awesome they are. Some people like to use those for their own testimonial. So it always helps another dietitian or always helps another professional. So definitely think about doing that. If you are not a connection with somebody, then you can request a connection, or you can follow them as well. But you can follow and then click the three dots next to it and you'll see connect in there as well. So that's different than following. It's actually a full-on connection with somebody, but you can connect with them and then send a message just like we talked about in that connection request. So say, "Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. This is what I learned. You're a really gifted speaker, or you're really good at outlining all the different protocols for diabetic ketoacidosis." Whatever it was that you want to comment on, speakers love that. And you're more likely to get a connection request accepted if you've got a nice connection with them. Connection, both from the presentation and also as part of your network. So that is one of my highest recommendations, is to be able to do that. So let's see. So I'm going to go back then to the checklist. So when you are connecting with somebody on LinkedIn, you want to make sure that your profile really says what it is that you do. It really speaks to who you are. It really speaks to what your vision is, what your intention is, what your service is, how you can be of service. And there's a couple different ways that you can talk about how you can be of service. And let me just show you where you can find that checklist now. Let's see if that has gone through. Yeah. So this is a scrolling GIF. And it has like where you can find. It's a little bit harder to find on I hope no one's getting nauseated. It's going so fast. So on the mobile device, you can see over at the very bottom of the scroll, after all the jobs, there's hundreds and hundreds of jobs. After all the jobs, you can see some banner blog articles I have. And there you can see the LinkedIn profile checklist where you can download it. You'll click through a couple different times. So when you're on NutritionJobs, scroll past all of the amazing jobs, and then you will click on to the blogs. There's a lot of blog postings on here. You can definitely check that one out, or check any of them out. How to work with brands as a dietitian, how to become a media dietitian, my resources, salary negotiation, podcast. There's all kinds of good stuff on there. So definitely check that out. Are there any questions? Go ahead and put them in the chat, the Q&A. I will address those. I got a couple more slides I want to go through before we get nauseated anymore with this particular slide. So when I talked about that, we want to show who we are and how we can be of service, having an optimized LinkedIn headline, as you already know, this is super, super important. The default that LinkedIn provides is a headline that includes your job title at your current work environment. So that's not really necessarily what you want. You want to show a little bit more than that. That is certainly a good thing to have, but you want to include a few more things like how you can be of service. So I like to put in there like what your job title is, maybe what your service is, and then you can also put in there some keywords. And the keywords could be, so for example, let's say you work with people with diabetes. You can put that in there. You're a diabetes specialist. You can say anything that you want. Think about those keywords as searchable elements. So think about how people are going to type something in. If you're a sports dietitian, most people aren't going to be typing in the word dietitian. Some do for sure, but a bigger SEO word for keyword and keyword phrases is sports nutritionist. So that's probably what you want to put in your headline. If you work with teens, you can put teen sports nutritionist. If you work with high school athletes, you can put that in there. If you work with adults, whatever it might be, you can indicate that on your headline. You've got about 200 characters to work with. And then you can also include like a signature achievement. Like, did you write an ebook or a regular book? You can put that in there. You can put, if you've got multiple cookbooks, I have a dietitian friend who's got a lot of cookbooks that they have published. You can say that, that you're a published author and maybe just highlight one of them, or you can highlight the type of cookbooks that they are, Instapot or fast meals or family meals or smoothies, whatever it might be. You can put that in there in your headline. You want to be able to be found through your headline. You want to be able to be searched up through your headline as it relates to the service that you can provide, whether that's your full-time job and you want to have like speaking engagements. Say you work for another hospital and maybe you want to collaborate with other dietitians. Maybe you want to give, you want to do presentations. Maybe your company allows you to go traveling if you get invited to give a presentation someplace else. So get lots of those speaking engagements someplace else so you can go traveling a little bit. If you have a side hustle, if you're a recipe developer, a blogger, a writer of any sort, you can put that in your headline as well. You can say you're a clinical nutritionist at University Hospital. You can also say, recipe developer or nutrition blogger, nutrition writer. How do you want people to find you, to find your services, to pay for your services as part of your side hustle, or of course of your full-time gig? So those are a couple different ways. That I think is super important. And then you can also put that into your about section, a little bit more about how to find you. You can, if you've been in the media before, you can show where you've been. You can put a link to your media kit. If you have anything that you want to highlight there, that can go right into either your contact section, where you can link to a few URLs, or you can put that into your about section. But you want to be able to, when you connect with somebody eventually through a virtual conference, you want to be able to see how it is. They want to be able to see who you are and how they can work together with you, or how you are of service to other people. So there's a lot of different ways to approach this. I think having a goal in mind is super, super helpful, and having that checklist. So definitely check out that checklist. Did I put it down here again? I don't think I did. Let me just see if I can add it in right now again. So again, the checklist is on the web. Let me see if I can get that in there now. It may have gone. Oh, maybe I don't think it updated. Okay, I tried to do it over on the other side. Anyway, this is how you can connect with me. I'm over on NutritionJobs in a lot of different places, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, of course, and over on the website. There's a lot of resources there. If anyone has any questions in the chat, I would love to know if you're going to Fancy. I hope I can see you in the chat, or I can see you at one of the conferences somehow, I would love to be able to connect. Make sure you can find me. Let me see if I can run back up to, here's that checklist. And definitely download that when you can. I think it'll really help. I am going to download my own checklist and make sure I go through it with intention. And this is where you can find me at Fancy this year. But even if you're not attending Fancy, you can always connect with me outside of that, and definitely connect with me on LinkedIn and Instagram. That's where I have a lot more conversations also on Instagram. It's kind of a fun place to be. Any other questions? I'm looking, I've got a few notes in the Q&A. Everyone is coming from all over the world. This is fun, actually. A couple people from Germany and one from, wow. Okay, great. Thank you. Oh, that's good. Thanks for those words. I appreciate that. Putting it in the Q&A so you guys can't all see it, but I want to thank you for the kind words. If you have any more questions, just connect with me on all the places, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. If this was helpful, let me know that. I would like to do more of these LinkedIn events, and so this is a great way to see if this works and if it's beneficial to everybody. So thank you so much for today. Anything else from anybody? We're almost at the bottom of the hour. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we got everything, and I'll send out a little note of what we've done today and a way for you to download if you want to do those. Okay. All righty. That's it for now. I'm going to sign off and have a great day. Bye, everyone.